Killer Mari.
I know my generation is sensitive, so like, I don't know, but one thing about us, we do care a lot about mental health and trauma. So this kind of brings me to my next question. Do you think black parents inflict trauma by accident? And if so, like, how do you fix it?
Absolutely, I do. I think that sometimes as a culture, we imitate what we have seen. And so certainly speaking from my generation of parenting, meaning my parents, were definitely the type that was more do as I say, not as I do. And if there was not a lot of conversation, if you didn't do what was asked of you, you got a beat down on sight, no questions asked. And your parents enabled others to beat you down on sight, right? Whether that's good or bad. Nevertheless, I think that there is a place for discipline, but I also think that sometimes some people take discipline too far and it can be excessive, and then therein lies that trauma. And I think that's some of the things that we see from a physical perspective. I would also say from an emotional perspective, if people are broken and coming from broken places, then they project that brokenness on their children. So if you grow up in an environment that is very dysfunctional and there's no stability, you have no basis of what stability looks like. So you just give your kid what you to the best of your ability. You give them what you know. And so I think that sometimes as the black community, we don't seek mental health. We'll go to the doctor reluctantly. We won't even go to the doctor when we have high blood pressure or diabetes, right? So we just reject, having any type of accountability for our health. But more importantly, I think we hide behind mental health because that might inflect that you're crazy or something is wrong with you. So we reject that. So I think that sometimes trauma is projected because people do come from broken places, or they err more side on the heavy-handed side of discipline. But there's no love and there's no teaching wrapped into that. There's no conversation about the why.
Okay, so I know you did the snitching, like, whooping a child. So what's too far? Like, I know they got belts, and I know they got branches or switches or whatever they want to call it. So what is too far? Looking back on it now, what is too far?
Okay, so he's definitely going somewhere with that. So let me just tell you, I am half Nigerian, okay? And so, there are times that one may say that the level of discipline that my father extended towards me when I was cutting up was excessive, right? But it made me who I am. Now, I did project that on my child. I will be completely transparent and own that. I did it. I can't tell no lies. The Lord sits high and he looks low, and I ain't trying to die tonight for lying. So, to answer his question, I think that you go too far when you discipline your child in anger, because then anger and rage takes over, and you don't know when to pull that back.
That's a good one. So with that, I know a child should always respect his parents and do what the parents say. So that brings to the next question of, like, how do you grow your relationship with your child? Like, what are the ways of doing that?
Sure.
I want to say first, by me starting, I would say you probably can grow it by just, like you said, being there and supporting and understanding your child.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not a parent, so I can't speak on that type of stuff. So.
Well, because I'm going to try, right? And certainly I don't speak for all parents. This is the Janet perspective. The best perspective. No, I'm joking. It's my perspective. So just make sure that you take it as that. But to answer your question, son, I think that, as children grow and they develop, and as they mature, so do your parents. And so I think that, certainly as me being a young parent, having young children, I was 21 when I gave birth to a set of twins. But again, times were different, right? Back then, I was married, and we were trying to figure out life. I was immature, and so I made some mistakes along the way, and I'm woman enough to own that. But the one thing that I'll say is that we grew up together. And so as I matured and my worldview broadened, then so did my parenting towards you. One of the things that I think was really important was, yes, I wanted you to have at least what I had, if not more, growing up. But I also wanted to make sure that you had a as complete of a worldview as possible, whether that was socially with your environment, making sure that I was involved with who your friends were and I understood who your set of friends were and their parents, because as a parent you can't let your child go everywhere. There are predators all around the corner. You don't know who that uncle is in that house when you send your child to go spend the night. So a loving parent, a concerned parent, takes the time to understand who your child is friends with, who's in that environment. I'll be honest, my kids couldn't go spend the night with everybody because I didn't trust who was in that house, right? So, and I didn't want kids really coming to spend the night with me. Again, liability to the parents, right? I know how to parent them, and that's just that. Those were kind of my rules at that time. So you kind of invest in knowing who the parents are, who the families are, that your kids, so making sure that social element is important, but then also making sure that I help shape your worldview, also from a spiritual perspective, right? Because I wanted you to know that people change, places change, but God is the only thing that never changes. He's the only constant in our lives. So, growing up, I didn't grow up in a religious home, but it was something that, God touched my heart at 12 to learn more about it. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to make sure that if I ever became a parent, that my children knew who the Lord was and what that looked like so that they could have their own relationship with the Lord. And then also, socioeconomically, I wanted to make sure that we provided for you all in such a way that you understood that if you work hard and you applied yourself and you leveraged your education, that there was a world outside of where we lived. When my children were 8, we went on vacation to the islands. My children, into their early 20s, they've been to Puerto Rico, amazing. Right? And it was absolutely amazing, for sure. But I just wanted them to know that there was a world outside of the small town that we lived in North Carolina, so that they could understand that there's more to this world than just our zip code. So.
Okay. Before we move forward, I do want to ask, because I know some people that I know that I go to school with, they don't have good relationships with their parents. So I guess if it's reversed, how does the child get a better relationship with the parent, even though if the parent isn't really?
I understand.
Yeah.
The only way I can answer that, son, is you have to know who you're dealing with, and you got to meet that person where they are. You can't upgrade a Chevy to an Audi, right? So, if you know that for whatever reason, whatever their circumstances are, if your parents are in a certain place, you can't expect more. Keep your expectations low. Meet your parents where they are. Honor them, because the Bible tells us, it calls us to honor our parents. It doesn't say they have to be good parents. Sometimes you have bad parents, right? Because we have a lot of children in the foster care system. So you just have to meet the person. You have to meet your parents where they are, and just take what you get, and just pray that God will give you a better relationship.